Y'all, just so you know, I picked that song for myself tonight. I needed it for me. Anybody else need that song right now? Firm Foundation. March was a wacky month for me. It felt like the longest month ever. Was it just me, or did March feel very long to everybody else? It felt like the longest month ever for me. I had some stuff with my boys, and then I got that horrible flu that was going around. It hit our family hard for 14 days straight. My youngest got it, then I got it, then my oldest got it on his birthday, and it laid us on the couch, and we were down for about 14 days. So I feel like I'm just coming back to life. Even like the tickle in my throat and like the mucus. So if I have to clear my throat, forgive me, like it's still lingering. I don't know what it was. It was a spawn from Satan that got in my lungs, but it's got to go. So it just felt like the longest month ever. And as I'm coming back out of it, I just needed that song. I needed that reminder that Christ is our firm foundation. He'll never let me go. It's funny too, even the message that I'm sharing tonight, this is actually a message that, if I'm being honest, I'm regurgitating. It was a message I heard about 3 years ago, and it touched me to my soul. And if you don't know, I have like a notepad. Every time I hear a good message, or God gives me a word, or I hear a story in the Bible, or I'm reading, and it just hits me, I keep like a little notepad of message ideas for future. So I always knew I wanted to share this message. I just didn't know when, because I always wait for God to tell me when. And as I was planning the spring season, I was like, okay, it's time. This message needs to come out. And God is so funny, because it was exactly what I needed in the moment. And I tell you guys that every time. It's like, I really think God has a sense of humor, because he always makes me share messages that I need for myself first before I share them with you guys. So this message was planned in January, and I didn't realize how bad I was actually going to need this message coming up into it. And so I have just been chewing on this word. I've been chewing on this message. And now I'm just going to give it back out to you guys. But before we get started, we're going to do a fun little icebreaker game tonight, okay? Who in here keeps their car gas tank full? Like full. You must be the worrywarts in the room. Are you guys worriers? The worrywarts. Who in here constantly... Oh, okay. Who in here constantly is letting their tank go below half or even a quarter? And they're like, I can do it. It's like always less than a quarter. Okay, here's the good one. You guys ready? Who in here is the one that pushes it past the gas light, and you're at that point where you're like, oh yeah, I had to go pick Angie up because she ran out of gas. Oh no, that's when Matt had to come get you. You're stuck on the freeway. Oh yeah, and she thought she was going to die because she was stuck on the freeway, and I had to like talk her off the ledge until Matt got there. Okay, but how many of you go past, the gas light comes on, you see the gas lights on, and you're like, it's okay, I'm just going to keep driving. How many of you are so bad that you've done the thing before where you turn off the air conditioner and roll down the window and you're praying that you just make it to the gas station? Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Let's literally talk about that for a second, because does your air conditioner actually use the gas? Does it? Okay, I was just curious. Okay, because I remember my dad did that one time. We were on a road trip coming home from California, and we were like on the straight and narrow. There was nothing for miles. And he goes, yeah, we need to turn off the air and roll down the windows. And I'm like, are we going to make it? He's like, I don't know. It's in God's hands now. I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, seriously, who's been to that point? We've all done it. We've all been to the point where we are praying that God just gets us to the gas station so we don't have to get out and push and look like a fool. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about running on empty. What do we do when we're running on empty? So you have the ones of you that raised your hand and said your gas tank is always full. This might not be for you, but it probably is. This message that I'm going to share tonight, it is going to speak to the widows in the room. It's going to speak to the mothers in the room, and it's going to speak to the women in the room. So if you are any of those, you're welcome. This message should speak directly to your heart tonight, okay? I'm going to be reading out of 2 Kings chapter 4, the widow's olive oil. The wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha, "Your servant my husband is dead, and you know that he revered the Lord. But now his creditor is coming to take away my 2 boys as slaves." Elisha replied to her, "How can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house?" "Your servant has nothing there at all," she said, "except for a small jar of olive oil." Elisha said, "Go around and ask all of your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask just for a few. Then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Pour the oil into the jars, and as each is filled, put it off to the side." She left him and shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the oil jars to her, and she kept pouring. When all of the jars were full, she said to her sons, "Bring me another." But they replied, "There is not a jar left." Then the oil stopped flowing. She went and told the man of God, and he said, "Now go sell the oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons live what's left." So we're going to talk about this today. What do we do when we're running on empty? Have you ever felt like you have nothing left? I literally felt like this morning, and I have to tell you guys, praise Jesus. He comes through at the right time, always. I'm writing this message this morning, trying to get ready for tonight, literally feeling like I have nothing left to give. And one of our prayer mamas, we had our prayer groups this morning for all our Shine students, and I got a text message at just the right time. And they didn't know it, but I had literally just journaled to God of like, you better send me a crystal clear sign. You better show me something. Like, I am at that point where I don't know if I have anything left to give, so you better show up right now. God, come find me. And I sit down to write this message, and this text message comes through, and it's just affirmations of what is happening within this Shine community. But I was there. I had nothing left. Have you been there? You're fighting for your life, and people need you. People in your life need you. It could be your job. It could be your kids. It could be your friends. It could be something, but somebody needs you, because doesn't everybody always need us? Somebody needs you, and you have nothing left. You're just literally on fumes. You're running on empty. You're praying just to get to the gas station and not run out of gas. This is what happened in this story. We want so bad to keep pouring. We want so bad to be there for the people in our lives. We want so bad to be good wives and moms and friends and employees, but we just don't have anything left, and we're sitting with God, and we're like, how am I going to keep going? How am I going to make it to the next day, the next stop, the next meeting, the next meal? I don't want to cook for my family today. I'm tired. Can I just order a pizza? I have nothing left. Every woman in here knows exactly what I'm talking about, right? We get to that point. That's exactly what happened to the woman right here. She is on empty, and her boys need her. She has lost her husband. She has no money. She has no job. She's completely out of ideas of how to pull herself out of this hole. And if we think about it, she's probably lost hope. She has lost hope. She is on empty, and she knows because she has no money, these creditors are going to come and take her sons away from her, and she doesn't know what to do. She has nothing left. I want to be angry for this woman, because if you read, it said, the wife of a man from a company of prophets cried out to Elisha. So this was a faithful woman. Her husband was in the company with the prophets, and he had died. So if her husband was in the company of the prophets, you have to believe that they were probably a faithful home, right? She was probably faithful. And she's at this point where she feels like she's done everything right. She's done everything right, and she just cannot find a way, and she is on empty. That's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to learn the lessons from this story of what we do when we are on empty. Okay? So it says, the wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha, "Your servant, my husband, is dead. You know that he revered the Lord, but now the creditor is coming to take away my boys as his slaves." So the first thing we need to learn from this story is when we feel like we're on empty and we have nothing left. We have no money, we have no hope, we have no resources, we have no idea how to get ourselves up out of this hole that we're in. The first thing we have to do is, lesson 1, cry out. We need to cry out to God. How many of us, if we're being honest, that's the first thing we do? How many of us, if you're like me and you're stubborn, you forget to cry out to God when you get to these places? In our stubbornness, we don't. We're like, I can do it by myself. I can keep going. We cry out to people to help me. We look to the world. We look for all the things before we cry out to God. If we're being honest, how many of us in this room actually do that? Crying out to God is probably not our first instinct, because as women, we've been trained to play superwoman. We have taught ourselves how to play superwoman. And if I just keep going, if I just stay ahead of the game, if I just a little bit longer, I just have to get through this day, I have to get through this meeting, I have to get through this. There's light at the end of the tunnel. How many of you guys have said there's light at the end of the tunnel? It's going to slow down. It's going to get better soon. And we just keep going, and we just keep pushing, and we're chugging along like that car trying to get to the gas station. And the gas light is on, and it's warning us like, you're on empty, you're on empty, you're on empty. And we keep pushing it till the very last minute, till we cry out to God. And then we get mad because we're struggling and we're hurting. Nobody around us sees that we're struggling. We have been pushing ourselves to the brink, and our people don't even notice. They still need us, right? Whether it's your husband or your kids or your friends, nobody has any idea how empty you are because you're not telling anybody how empty you are. You just keep pushing through and muscling through. And then if we're being honest, we start to get mad at the people in our lives because they need something from us. They want something from us, and they don't know that we're on empty. So then we start getting bitter, and we start getting angry at people in our life that need us, and then we start to get cranky. And then we walk around like cranky women, and we wonder why nobody wants to be around us. Like, what's wrong with all of you? Why don't you want to be around me? Because I'm cranky, and I'm empty, and I'm tired. And then nobody wants to be around us, so then we feel abandoned. And then how many of us go, fine, I don't need you. Fine, I don't need you. And then we feel isolated and alone because we've pushed everybody away. We've isolated, we've gotten cranky, and we've gotten bitter because instead of just crying out to God, from the very beginning, we take ourselves down this spiral where we find ourselves in such a deep place. So now we're empty, and we're isolated, and we're alone, and we don't feel like we have anybody. Anybody else ever been there? Here's the problem with that too. When we don't cry out to God and we're looking at the world and people in our lives to fill our tanks when we get on empty, we are looking to people to fill in us what only God can fill. And that is not fair to the people in our lives. And we all do it. And people have probably done it to you too. They're on empty and they're looking at you like, fill my cup, fill my cup. And that's okay. But there comes a point in a time only God can truly refill your spiritual soul. Okay? And here's the thing. God is waiting for us. He is waiting for us to come to him. He knows you're empty. He knows you're tired. He knows you're cranky. He knows you feel alone. And he's just sitting back waiting for you just to cry out. Tell me how you feel. I actually did this morning. A 4-page letter I wrote God. Oh, I cried out because I had been so stubborn for so long. And I was like, nope. I can do this, I'm okay, and I finally hit my point this morning. I wrote a 4-page letter to God crying out, asking for help, even this morning as I'm getting ready to share this message with you guys, but we wait too long. The Bible said God is close to the brokenhearted. He is close to the brokenhearted. So if you are empty, bitter, isolated, alone, he is right there. He is so close to you. He's waiting. All you have to do is cry out. And in our stubbornness, we don't. We wait till it's too empty, and then we get to the end of our rope where our gas light has come on and we're rolling down the windows and turning off the air like, okay, God, I need you now. Really? Really? But we all do it, okay? You might feel alone in these situations, but you are not alone, I promise. God is always right there waiting. He is close to the brokenhearted, and he is just waiting for you to cry out to him. Verse 2, Elisha replied to her, how can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house? The man of God asks her 2 questions in this moment. The first question is, how can I help you? This is a hard one because sometimes when we do finally cry out to God, he's going to ask us, how can I help you? What do you need? And we have to be very specific of what we need from God. I remember my friend Carla, we were talking one time, and she was asking God for something. I said, you want specific answers, you have to ask specific questions. If you want God to be specific and tell you exactly what to do, you have to ask specific questions to get specific answers from God. And it's the same thing When you're crying out to God in this place of emptiness, you can't just cry out. He wants to know, how can I help you? What do you need? Tell me exactly what you need from me. That's why my letter was 4 pages today, okay? Because I had a lot of pent up stuff because I had waited so long to cry out that I had some very specific stuff to the fact of, you better show me something today. If you want me to show up tonight and you want me to keep going, you better show me something today. And 10 minutes later, a text comes showing, oh, fine, right? You want specific answers. You have to ask specific questions. You have to tell them specifically what you want. Here's the second question. Tell me, what do you have in your house? This one is not as fun as the first one because any of us that know God know the minute we cry out and ask for help, who is the first person he's going to challenge? You. What do you have in your house? What is going up in there? And he's going to ask you, let's see what's going on inside your house first. And this is hard because a lot of the times when we get to these empty places, we just want God to come fix our problems. We want him to come fix that person or fix that relationship or just make this situation. We want to put God in like a genie bottle and just boink, and just have God fix all our problems. And if anybody has a relationship with God like I do, we know he always makes us look at ourselves first. The first person he will ask you to fix is yourself. And he will say, what do you have in your house? What do you need to work on? Because half the time, your problems can get fixed by you. And we're looking for all of these miracle ways to fix these problems, but you, 95% of the time, are the solution to your own problem. In this story, what did the widow need? She needed provision. She had no money. Her boys were getting ready to be taken from her. She needed provision from God. She cries out asking for help, and she needs provision. But God gives her provision. And he makes her stop and look at the bigger picture and stop and look back. What do you have in your house? What can you do to fix this problem? How many times have we prayed to God, does God give us perspective rather than an answer? Or he'll give us different vision rather than an answer. And he'll show you that you've been the solution the whole time. You just have to get out of your own way, right? Verse 3, Elisha said, go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Don't ask for just a few. Here's our next lesson from this story. Reach out. So first we cry out. We cry out to God, and then we reach out. That is the next lesson from the story of the widow. We have to reach out. And here's the problem. Most of us reach out before we cry out. Most of us go to people around us and look for everybody else to try and fix our problems before we actually cry out to God. Or we cry out to God, and we cry out to God, and we cry out to God, but then we don't tell anybody around us who loves us because it's none of your business what I'm going through. I don't want you to know what I'm going through. I don't want you to know how empty I've let myself get. I don't want you to know what's going on in my house. It's none of your business. You mind your business over there. I'll come to you when everything's good, but when it's bad, that's my business, and I'm not going to tell you. Or we do a reach out on social media. And this thing has gotten very dangerous. Thank you, COVID, because we'll post about something and we'll wait for the comments. And this is how we're reaching out. We're telling people what's going on in our lives. We're telling people that we're hurting. And we're waiting for the comments. Affirm me, love me, see me. And we're looking for that affirmation and those comments there. And we think that's reaching out. That's not reaching out. Reaching out is people who know you, who love you, who will show up for you. This community, if you're part of Shine, this is what we are trying to create here. We are trying to create a space where you have people in your life that see you face to face all the time, that you're going to run into at the grocery store, that are going to know when something's not going on. Those are the people that you reach out to. Those are the people that will show up. Are these people on social media that are commenting on your posts actually going to show up and do anything to help you? Do those people actually really love you? I mean, they might love you, but that's not reaching out. Reaching out is somebody tangible, face-to-face, that will come knock on your door with a coffee when you're going through something hard and pray with you. That's reaching out. Those are the people that we have to talk to. Those are the people that we have to reach out to. Physical, tangible people that love you, that care about you, that will see you in your mess and love you anyway, and they're going to show up. Is that uncomfortable? Yes, it's uncomfortable. God works best in your uncomfortable situations. I tell people all the time, fruit isn't grown on the mountaintops, it's grown in the valleys. And usually when you get uncomfortable, God does his best work, and he usually grows you through that, and something comes from that. Do you think it was comfortable for her to admit her shame, to swallow her pride, to say, I have hit the end of my rope, and I am so empty, I have nothing left? She actually had to go knock on neighbors' doors and ask for help. How many of us, when we get empty, actually go and knock on our people's doors and ask for help? And they ask for jars. This is what community is for, okay? Not this. This is something that Satan has used to, this will give you like a half a tank of gas. It's never going to fully give you everything you need, okay? Verse 4, then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Then we get to a place where we've cried out to God, we've reached out to our friends in our community and the people that truly love us, and they're coming alongside of us. But if we all know we've been to that place, there comes a time when you have to go behind closed doors and just get to work. You can cry out, you can reach out, but then every once in a while you have to go into your house, close the door behind you, and get to work, right? This is exactly what happens. Not everybody's going to see what happens behind closed doors. Only you are going to see what happens behind closed doors. But here's the thing. When the prophet told her to go in and close the door behind her, who else was in there with her? Her sons. You can't hide from everybody. There are going to be people in your life that are going to be with you in the ugliest of uglies and the messiest of messies. When she went in and closed the door behind her, yes, she was getting to work, but her sons were with her. How much do you think her sons knew about what was going on? Do you think she was trying to protect them and hide from them? She didn't want them to fear. She didn't want them to feel shame. She was probably, as if you're a mother, you know, trying to protect her boys from knowing too much information. But once she went behind those closed doors and had to get to work, there was no hiding anymore. They had to watch what she had to do. And in this moment, when she was so empty, probably her weakest moment, in that moment when she felt the weakest, they saw her strength. What if in your most empty, weakest, vulnerable moments, somebody else is watching your strength, your faith? Because she didn't know what was going to happen. The prophet told her, collect these jars, shut yourself in, and start pouring your oil. She had no idea. She had to hold on to nothing but faith and hope and a word from God. And in her weakest, most empty moments, her boys were probably looking at her like, wow, mom has faith. Mom has strength. She's going to keep fighting even though she has nothing left. So if you're a mama in this room, I will tell you, on those days when you feel like you have nothing left and you have nothing left to pour and nothing else to give and you have no hope, the little ones that are watching you have no idea. To you, you look like their hero. You look like faith. You look like hope. You look like strength, okay? Verse 5, she left him and shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her, and she kept pouring. So here's our next lesson. Pour out. Here's the problem, because when we get so empty that we have nothing left, what's our first initial reaction? To hoard. I have nothing left to give. I have nothing left to pour. I have nothing left to give. So we isolate. We go behind closed doors and we hoard everything we have left because we're afraid. If I keep pouring, I have nothing left and I'll be empty. But the prophet tells her, pour. Pour out. And she goes, but all I have is this little bit of oil. And he's like, just pour. And so sometimes we have to pour. We can't hoard when we have nothing left. And it's hard because it's hard to pour when your cup is not full, right? But God says, keep pouring. Keep pouring. And then we wonder like, okay, but what if there's nothing left for me? God, I might actually die. Like, I I have nothing left. Like, how am I going to keep showing up? How am I going to keep pouring? How am I going to go one more day? I have nothing to give. And God's like, I don't need you to be full. I will pour through you. You just keep pouring. Because it says, she left and shut the door behind her sons. They brought the jars to her, and she kept pouring. When all the jars were full, she said to her son, bring me another one. But he replied, there are no jars left. And I want to talk about this for a second, because this is exactly what happened to me in 2020 when COVID hit. I was in a dark place. I was isolated. I was falling back into depression because I wasn't going to church. I wasn't around my people. And I was like, God, what do I do? And he goes, pour. Open your home to some women to talk about Jesus. And I had no idea. I'm like, I was empty. I was just, you guys know this story. I was trying to save myself. But I'm like, okay. And I just poured a little. And women kept coming. And they kept coming to Shine. It was one night a month, just a few, 30 women in my home. And I'm just going to pour the little bit that I have. And they keep coming. They keep coming. They keep coming. And then somebody says, Erin, more women want this. They need this. Let's open another home. And I said, well, okay, I don't know how much I have left, but I'll show up. And I just poured a little bit more. So then I'm 2 nights a week. Then I decided, hey, let's meet some moms for coffee. Michelle O'Connor right here. Our very first coffee and conversation in 2021 had the great idea of like, let's get some women together and just have coffee. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. And we just poured a little bit more and just invited some women in for coffee and conversations around the house. And then I had a mom say to me, you know what? We used to have a prayer group at this school, and we don't have it anymore. The woman who used to run it left, and it's kind of gone away over the last 2 years. Would you be interested in starting that back up? And I'm like, what's my 15 minutes before school every day? I can do that. And I just poured a little bit more. And then I started meeting with more friends. People were like, hey, Erin, I want to learn the Bible. I got some stuff I need to work through. And so I started mentoring women one by one. And I would just, little by little, with what I had that day, I would just pour into that woman over coffee and pour into another woman over coffee and show up to my kids' prayer group and do one Shine night a month. And then meet some friends for coffee every once in a while, a coffee and conversation. And little by little, I just kept pouring. And then some women were like, hey, we really want to learn how to read the Bible. We don't know how to read the Bible. And they're like, Erin, you know how. I'm like, you know what? I can have some women in my house for a little Bible study. Do you see how a very little bit of oil can go a long ways when we just choose to pour a little bit at a time? Just a little bit, just what I have today. I'm not overflowing. I don't have completely full cup every day, but I know if I have a little bit of oil, I can keep pouring that little bit of oil that I have, and for some reason, it hasn't run out. I might feel like I'm on empty. I might feel like there's days I can't go on. I'm standing in front of you guys here tonight, and I told you, I had a 4-page letter to God this morning about how like I am empty and I don't know if I can keep going. But look at me here, standing up, sharing this message with you guys. I had just enough left to just pour a little. And that's when God does his greatest miracles, because it's not me. It's God pouring through me. And sometimes our greatest miracles happen when we are on empty, because it's not us. It's God working through us. When we have nothing left but just a little bit of oil, that's when God does the most powerful things, because it's not us doing it. It's God doing it. He is pouring through us. This woman kept pouring. Who was she pouring for? Her sons. They were coming to take her sons away from her. And she's like, for whatever I have left. We know that if you have kids, you will give the last bit of what you have to your kids, right? She kept pouring for her sons. She wasn't doing it for herself. She was doing it for her sons. Happened to me a couple years ago. I wanted my kids in Bible study with a group of boys their age to learn the Bible. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. This one I'm doing for my sons. And I poured a little bit. Our high school ministry is exploding right now. And I am just trying to give them a little bit of what I had left. And that one I did for my boys. I didn't even do it for me, and I didn't do it for you. I did it selfishly for my own kids so that they can be in Christ-centered community and learn the Bible. And that's where God shows up. Luke 6:38 says, give and it will be given to you. And so many times we want to hoard and we want to keep it all to ourselves because it's like, God, I have nothing left to give. I don't think I can do this. And God's like, just keep pouring. Just keep pouring. You keep giving. You keep giving love. You keep giving time. You keep giving encouragement. You keep giving resources. And I will give it back to you. I will fill your cup. The oil will not stop overflowing. If you do it for me, if you do it for my glory, if you do it because I've asked you to pour, the oil doesn't stop. And then she replied, there is not a jar left. Her sons are bringing her jars just over and over in oil, and she keeps pouring, and the oil never runs out. And then she says, bring me another one. There is not a jar left. Then the oil stopped flowing. Do you think God is ever going to bring us to something that he's not going to give us enough to get through it? If God is bringing you somebody or something or a situation, and he's like, just keep pouring, you will not run out until the jars stop. Once the jars stop, then the oil will stop flowing. But then here's the cool thing. She went and told the man of God, and he said, go sell the oils now and pay off your debts. You and your sons live on what's left. So the last lesson, live on what's left. What do you think is left from all the little tiny pours? Of all the years that I have poured just a little, and just a little, and just a little. It's you guys. These friendships, this community, these Shine Students prayer groups, that worship song that I needed just to get through a day, the verse that I share with a friend and didn't even realize that I was going to need it 2 weeks later. It's a bunch of little tiny miracles when you just pour a little and a little and a little and a little. What you realize is what's left is actually a lot. It's a lot. It's those friends that text you in the morning when you've cried out to God and you have nothing left, and they just bring a text thread full of affirmations. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can keep going. And what if I told you guys a million times, I am just pouring tokens in. And I've told you guys a million times, one of these days, I'm going to pull the handle, and y'all better come flooding out like a jackpot, right? That's the point. But I have poured in a little to each of your lives, each of your situations. Even when I'm tired, I answer the phone. Even when I'm broke and you don't know I'm broke and I have no money left, but you're going through something, I'm going to buy you lunch, or I'm going to show up with coffee. I'm going to bring you flowers. I'm going to give you my time. Even when there's not time in my schedule and I don't know how I'm going to do it, I'm going to answer your phone call because you're struggling. And I'm going to keep pouring the little bits I have left because for some reason, when I step back and God gives me provision and I look back, I'm like, it never runs out. Like I think I'm on empty and I think I can't keep doing, but somehow I keep waking up every morning and showing up and the oil doesn't stop flowing. You're going to have resources and friendships, testimony, faith, fruit. So my question to you tonight is, what do you have to work with? What is in your house? Don't be afraid of pouring out from empty places because that is where God shows up the most. The miracle happens in the empty spaces. The miracles of God happen in those empty spaces. We're so afraid to be empty. But what if those empty places are exactly what God wants to use to do his biggest miracles and to pour through you and show up? So here's our lessons. Cry out, reach out, pour out, and then live on what's left. And I think when you actually stop and have perspective and provision, you will look around and realize there's actually a lot left. Now I have a community full of jars with just a little. But if I go knocking on their door, they're going to show back up. They're going to reach back out. They're going to bring me their jars when I have to keep pouring and I have nothing left. Right? So this last song that we're going to sing tonight, we're not going to stand up. I just want you guys to sit. I want you to listen, and I just want you to take it in.